Hello and welcome to onLandscape. We're here with Joe Cornish and David Ward, and we're going to be talking about our up and coming Meeting of Minds conference. Along the way we'll talk about some of the speakers we've got, the exhibitors we've got on, and a few of the events we've got going on during the weekend. So I'll say hello to Joe.
Hi Tim.
And David.
Hi Tim. Are we allowed to say hello to each other as well?
You can say hello to each other if you like. And we should also say hello to Mr. Hutchinson, who's manning our live streaming here and be helping out over the conference. The first thing I'd like to do is talk about some of the speakers we got on. We've got a great range of speakers from abroad and UK. The first of which will be talking and will be hosting the event is David Ward.
Oh my God, me?
Yes, so you won't be introducing yourself. That's okay.
No, I think that would be a mistake, probably. Yeah.
And can you give us an idea of what you'll be talking about?
I'm going to talk about a few aspects of colour. I think in the digital era, colour has seemed to be a sort of it's become important because we can manipulate it more with software than we could in the film era. But it's also in a way become sort of reduced to a technical aspect, and there are lots of hidden things about colour, about cultural references to colour and about the way we perceive colour and how different the way we perceive colour is from how the camera sees. And I'm going to explore a few of those and talk about emotions and colour as well.
Yeah.
So a bit about the history of art.
Fantastic. And we'll be moving on. After that we're talking to Paul Gallagher, great black and white photographer who's dabbling in colour at the moment. You both know Paul. I believe you've done workshops with him in the past.
Yeah, I was unaware he was moving into colour. I mean, how dare he? Well, I've not seen any of his new colour stuff, is it?
I think he's got a bit here and there.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's still on large format?
I think when he's using the digital, he's been going out and choosing to leave a few.
Right,
and,
okay.
Converting them.
Right.
And quite muted, some of them, but they're looking interesting. And they'll be.
So he can't force himself to be saturated, not after so many years being mono, right?
It's a long step. But he's going to be talking about his journey through photography.
Right.
Paul's a great storyteller. I mean, he
Yes.
really is a wonderful storyteller, great and a raconteur, fantastic sense of humour. So his presentations are always really enjoyable, and his pictures are great. But you can guarantee that he'll be good value, very entertaining.
He's a very good speaker.
Yeah. After that, during the lunch break on the Saturday, we'll be having, I believe, Canon cameras demonstrating some equipment that we haven't been told about yet. I believe we'll also be looking at tilt shift lenses, and you'll be helping. Yeah,
I think David Clapp and I.
David Clapp and you.
Yeah. It's a lot of people are now dabbling with tilt shift, and long experience with 5.4 and that technology allows me to understand how that works, and I think it'll be really good to be able to show. We're going to have I understand we're going to have be able to broadcast straight from the camera to the big screen in the main hall to show the process.
Should look quite impressive,
which should be a good way of doing it. If only we could take a 70-foot screen with us when we're out in the field. But
that's my view.
But I think it will be. It should be a very good demonstration, I think. And David's used it quite a lot. So, and he's the Canon man, isn't he? So
yes.
Yeah.
Those are really nice lenses too.
Yeah, the 24 and the 17 new ones.
They're great. Yeah, and I think. Rumour has it they've redesigned all of them. They're just.
Well, it would be nice if we had a new 45 and a 90. Well, I know nothing about what's coming up,
no.
But you can only cross fingers and hope.
Yeah. They're always very tight-lipped.
It's a good moment to say actually the screen that we'll be using at the conference is there. It's not an IMAX screen, but it is pretty damned big.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, you've done a talk there before, haven't you?
I have. I gave a talk about a year ago there, and it's a great projection system and really good screen, so I think that everybody's in for a real treat. Yeah. So often digital can be a little bit of a letdown on projection, but I think it's going to look fabulous.
It is a cinema projection system, so it's a digital projection system that they use for their feature films. Yeah. And the screen's that big, we've actually had to reduce it a little, so people can take it all in one go rather than having to look around the screen to see the pictures.
The colour was very good. I was very impressed with the colour when I did the talk last year. So.
After the lunch break, we've got David Clapp, who, walking straight out of the tilt shift session, is a Canon ambassador and a whirlwind of activity on all accounts.
Yeah, I can't keep up with him. Yeah.
Well, I did keep up with him. Well, I didn't keep up with him exactly, but I did a presentation with him recently at the Natural History Museum. He actually kicked off Understanding Photography that we did on the Thursday. I hadn't really met David except once before in a bar, so it was really nice to get to know him. And what an amazing he's an amazing communicator on photography actually, and his I mean, as a digital photographer, his technical, it's not actually so much that he is a brilliant technician, which he is, but his pictures are I think very lyrical, and I think that's often, he's slightly embarrassed to talk about that.
Yes, he doesn't.
Which is interesting.
He likes to think of himself as a working photographer rather than an artist.
Why not? But actually, there is his best pictures are amazing, and he's very, very good at explaining how he does things. Mm-hmm. So I think from very much from that point of view, how pictures are made, he'll be a revelation. And
he's recently been awarded in the Wildlife Photographer of the Year. His classic aurora shot at Kirkjufell in Iceland.
Oh, that's why he was in that working with me on that occasion. Yeah, and it is. We got the story of the making of that picture, which was really fascinating.
Well, hopefully he'll give us that during that session as well.
Sure he will.
Yeah. Immediately after that, we have Rafael Rojas, Spanish photographer who is prolific. He's just won a Hasselblad Ambassador or Photographer of the Month, and he'll be talking about his journey. He's recently started using film through his Hasselblad black and white. He's had some amazing commissions in museums. And you've spoken with Rafael before and you've seen his work.
Yes, a lot. And he's also started the website Why Take, and is a real bundle of energy. He's Spanish, lives in, as you said, but lives in Switzerland. So interesting kind of cross-fertilization of cultures and ideas there. Really, really nice guy. Very, very warm, very bubbly. And I think he'll be spectacular. His work is I suppose you could say the younger generation. Oh, it's terrible. It's like a terrible unconscious saying that, but he's younger.
Well, you are 2 years older than me.
Well, yeah, thanks for that, and always will be. But
not necessarily.
The nice thing is it does give us the range of kind of opinions and ideas. And yeah, I'm excited to.
It's great because there is a culture of photographers in Europe, and his Why Take website hosts some of the best of those, and he's acted as a catalyst for that culture.
He's already published a huge amount of material, as you say. He's prolific, and I'm sure we'll hear some of the stories behind those books and adventures that he's had.
And then at the end of the first day, we have our keynote speaker, Jem Southam, who we're really quite privileged to have along. Jem Southam's got work in some of the top museums around the world, in the Victoria and Albert, for instance. And he's going to try and talk to us about the approaches to landscape photography and photography in general from the contemporary artist point of view. So the art market for the sorts of photography that he does. And around how he works on composition. So we'll be drawing from some of his work from the Painter's Pool, from the Rockfall series, and his brilliant River Winter book that was out recently. And you know his.
Yeah, I do know. I don't know it as well as I should, but I do know his work, and I think that's going to be really fascinating because it's it's quite far removed from the mainstream in landscape. But I think he'll give us some really good insights. I'm especially interested to hear what he has to say about composition. I think because it's a bit of a bugbear of mine about how it's passed on at the moment. So it'll be nice to say what his thoughts are, to hear what his thoughts are on that.
I mean, it's worth mentioning that Jem's background is in the academic world, isn't it? I think, and so.
Was he teach at Exeter?
Yes, and Plymouth. I think.
Yeah. And he started off at Derby, I believe.
Yeah. Oh, did he?
Yeah.
With
Paul Hill and John Blakemore.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be fascinating. I know that he's a very good communicator, a very, very thoughtful person, and his work is really extraordinary. I mean, it takes time to appreciate it. You have to see the prints. Really.
Yeah, they're slow burners, aren't they? But there's a lot once you get involved.
There's a lot going on, and
yeah.
I think it's a way to really open up that area of photography, especially for people who've not seen it before. And I think he'll be bringing a print.
He has now, and the interesting thing is Gem's prints sell for, well, hundreds of thousands. And bringing one to the conference would have been quite interesting. But he's been experimenting with digital printing recently, and some of the exhibitions he's been doing, he's printed large inkjet prints.
Right.
And once the exhibition's over, he destroys them. So it's literally that virtual aspect of an instant image.
Right.
That is just one aspect of one of his catalogue. And he's got some of these that were in an exhibition just prior to this conference that he's going to bring along for us.
Is he going to destroy them on stage?
I think he might be his a little pyre at the end.
Moment.
Yeah. So we will see some large versions of them, which is I think in many ways he shoots with a 10:8 camera, and it's great to appreciate the size of the pictures he produces.
Well, I think the detail is a key to his compositions, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I've attended one of his workshops, and he very much talks about compositions within compositions, little fragments in pictures that are obviously quite difficult to see if you're looking at a 400 pixel JPEG online.
So what's happening in the evening?
The evening there, we have a little break after the keynote session, and everybody's coming back for a dinner where we will be having 130 people. Unfortunately, the tickets for the dinner have sold out. We have a full house. But we're going to have a...
Do we get balloons and...
Balloons, but we were
sausages on sticks?
We were going to try and develop a landscape photographer's top trump card set for people to play with, but we backed out of that one. But we will be having a pub quiz.
Who's sending the questions?
We're going to try and solicit a few questions off people. Okay. But we've just commissioned the Landscape Photographer of the Year, Take a View Landscape Photographer of the Year, as our compere for our pub quiz. Mark Littlejohn. I don't know if anybody knows, but the El Potty, as it's called, was announced yesterday, and Mark Littlejohn won first place.
With a fabulous image, I think, really, really lovely image. So.
Yeah, it's a little appearing and disappearing stream below Ben Fadden.
Yeah, but really very emotive picture.
Yeah. And hopefully, I mean, we've had a chat with Mark, and he'll be bringing some prints along. And we should probably say on the Friday night, we're having a little reception, informal, but we're going to have a print from each of the speakers in the main area of the conference. And Mark Littlejohn has promised to bring some along as well. So,
brilliant.
Yeah, but the pub quiz, hopefully, picture recognition, some trivia about landscape photography, all landscape photography related, and we might even have some prizes. We'll see.
Okay.
The winner can set fire to one of Jem Southern's prints. There's a claim to fame. The Sunday event will be started by yourself.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're opening up on the Sunday morning where everybody's wide awake.
Good. I get the graveyard shift.
Yeah. And what will you be talking about, Joe?
The unknown photographer is the plan, and that's it's the unseen, or was it unknown? Unseen, the unseen photographer. And I think the idea for that, I still have to get the whole thing together, but is to show work that isn't well known.
Yeah.
And to talk about that, but also to talk about the idea of the photographer disappearing in the work, which is more of a philosophical issue.
Yeah, fantastic. After a coffee break, we'll be listening to yourself, David, interviewing Paul Wakefield.
Oh, right, I was going to say, I've already spoken, but yes.
We're doing it twice.
Yeah, talking to Paul, which will be fascinating for me, because Paul was instrumental in me deciding to become a landscape photographer 30 odd years ago. So,
yeah. Can you give us a bit of background about Paul?
I first came across him, I suppose, in the late 70s, early 80s. He did a series of books about Britain, which were really his passion was landscape, but actually he's always earned his living as a commercial photographer in the advertising world. Incredibly skilled. Very precise, beautifully worked images, and but you always get the feeling that, you know, he's working to a brief there, so he has some constraints. But in the landscape work, he has the ability to just really kind of do exactly what he wants to do. And his images, his style of photography is quite different from anybody else that I know, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. Beautiful, but never pretty. Melancholic, I think, a lot of the time. Emotive pictures. Large format photography, I think still, is he using the phase now, isn't he, with a... Depends
on the assignment, but
yeah.
I think a lot of his personal work is still shot in 5.4.
Right. Yeah, I just love his work, but it's going to be great. I'm going to chat through with him about some images and ask him about his history in photography, and I'm just going to really enjoy doing that, actually.
And you're having a chat with him this week, I believe, about what images you might use. And I think it's going to be about that sort of balance between personal and commercial work.
I think that's a really interesting thing to explore, because I think a lot of photographers actually do that. You have to earn a living, but you can't necessarily make a living from that aspect of photography that you're passionate about. And in fact, sometimes I think it's good to keep them separate.
Yes.
I think.
There's an interesting little kind of area to explore too. I'd like to hear more about what he thinks of his commercial work, because although I think we probably all feel that the work we set ourselves is more important to us, some of the great works of art have been made to commercial briefs after all in the past, whether it's music or paintings, and I think you see the incredible skill and collaboration that sometimes results from working with an art director or sort of really, really ingenious campaign. While it may feel a bit contaminated by commerce, it's still often unbelievably creative and powerful work, and perhaps it's sort of thing you wouldn't do without the collaborative element. So, I'd like to hear more about that from him.
I think you ought to ask him.
No, you can ask him. Sorry.
That's all right. Well, immediately afterwards, we'll be having a chat with Alan Hinks. And if anybody doesn't know Alan Hinks is the first British climber to climb all of the
world's 8,000 metre peaks.
8,000 metre
14
peaks.
of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you and I will be doing that? Or
we'll be on stage together.
Yeah.
I had the great pleasure of scanning his whole back catalogue of slides for his recent book, 8,000 metres. So we've got some fantastic scans to use, and we'll be picking a selection of those to ask him questions about.
It'll be interesting, actually, because it's keeping Alan under control is going to be the challenge for us. He's an amazing speaker. He is the go-to guy that the media always contact whenever there's a disaster in Nepal, which there seems to be quite regular at the moment. So I'm sure a lot of people will have seen him on the telly, on the radio, heard him on the radio, and he's very, very good. I mean, he's incredibly knowledgeable, very funny as well. Yeah. However, it's quite difficult to pin him down on photography. Yeah. And I think you and I are going to find that.
We want to hear the story, not especially about the mountains, but how difficult it is to change a roll of film at 8,000 metres when you've been out for 5 days.
Well, you will get the story about the mountains as well, but that's no bad thing. But we'll obviously have a time constraint. We'll try and get as much as we can out of him about his... he loves photography. Yeah. He really does, and he's a talented photographer. He's very, very able. His
images, considering... I mean, the images are good in their own right, but considering the physical state he was in to take those pictures, it is quite remarkable. Yeah. So that's going to be fascinating. Another lunch where we're talking to Canon again about tilt-shift lenses and whatever else they've got to present.
Tim, you want to mention the other folks we've got turning up to do the kind of, on the commercial side?
Well, we'll do the exhibitors side in a second. We've got one session. We're going to do a quick session with us on stage talking about the onLandscape magazine and see what the audience would like to see add to it in the following years. But our final keynote speaker is Hans Strand, who I'm really looking forward to see present, because I love Hans Strand's work.
Yeah, I think he's a fabulous photographer, and I remember first coming across his pictures 4 or 5 years ago, and the thing that struck me was that he was a kindred spirit. He made pictures in the same vein that I did. He makes lots of different kinds of pictures, but he does do a lot of the sort of more abstract, intimate landscape pictures, and beautifully composed. You used the word lyrical earlier, and I think that's very appropriate to work. And he's also a lovely man.
Very big man.
He's a very big man, yeah. He's a very he's got a lovely temperament, and he's very humorous. So I think it'll be a great talk. Actually, I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I've not met him, so I'm really looking forward to that.
I've only ever met him abroad in the middle of nowhere, like Lofoten Islands. Yeah, bumped into him in the middle of nowhere in Iceland and in the middle of nowhere in the Lofotens.
Well, he'll be talking about Iceland. That's his chosen topic, because he's recently got the book published by Triple Kite.
Yeah.
A combination of aerial and ground photography.
Yeah, great book actually.
Yeah. So it'd be very interesting to hear his take on what has become the place to go by the looks of it.
He's been a great friend of the magazine too.
Yeah, he has been a very good friend of the magazine. Whilst all this is going on, we've made sure that we've got a good half an hour between every session and a 1.5 hour break over lunch. Because we've got lots of exhibitors here as well. And we've got Chris Island from Phase One Cameras. So he'll be bringing some equipment for people to look at, and possibly the following day on the Monday, maybe if people want to go out, we've talked about possibly taking a camera out to try it. We have Paula from Linhof Studios, which is a friend of the magazine.
Yeah.
And she'll be bringing off a selection of interesting items. She's coming up on the train, so seeing what she can bring up should be good.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I like it. Okay.
Camera items.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
So, and a whole load of leaf filters include our onLandscape kit. That we've had some custom leaf filters made.
Yep.
Permajet have recently joined on our list of exhibitors, and Colin from Permajet has been asking me to get some pictures to send to him to get printed large on their papers. So I'm hoping to get some of Alan Hink's scans printed large. It'd be very nice to see.
Good idea.
And Mark Littlejohn from the Landscape Photographer of the Year. And on the book side, we've got Neil McElwraith from Beyond Words, and Dav Thomas and David Breen from Triple Kite. And they'll be bringing their range of books and available to chat about book publishing in general.
Breath of fresh air in the publishing industry, I think, for photography. I think that's
considering
good.
how many things they published in this first year, it's quite a feat.
Yeah.
I think we probably ought to conclude by saying that probably the most important thing about the conference is actually just everybody getting together.
Yes.
And it I mean, we've been involved in Discovery Days and GDT and Wild Photos, Wild Screen Photography Festival, and the most fun thing about it, apart from seeing inspiring speakers, is actually getting together with everybody and sharing notes and having a drink and just generally catching up with old friends and meeting new ones. So that's a really important part of it.
And we're trying to keep those gaps between talks just for that, so people can mingle.
Exactly.
It's important to remember that there is an offline world as well as an online world, and it's actually nice to to chat to people face to face sometimes. Yeah.
And do we think this is the first time this has been done in the landscape photography sort of photography community?
I believe so. I mean, I believe in America there are a few conferences, but mostly they mix wildlife and landscape together. There's nature photography, really.
As GDT does in Germany. Yeah.
But there aren't any conferences that I know of that are specifically landscape photography. And the people coming to the conference, we've seen the list of people coming, and we've got some great photographers. We were scanning down some of the winners of the Landscape Photographer of the Year, and everybody we saw in the recent Sunday Times magazine was all coming to the conference. They're all coming, so
very good,
brilliant.
We'll hopefully have some of those in our green room to chat with as well, including Mark Littlejohn, possibly Robin Oliver, Colin Bell. I should probably add we've also got Paramo coming along to show some equipment, and Paul Gallagher's bringing the Epson Print Academy, or his little part of the Print Academy, not bringing the whole room and everything with him.
The whole thing with him.
Yeah. So he'll be holding little classes in printing. So if anybody has any questions, so I'm looking forward to the weekend.
I think it's going to be great. I think it's really, really exciting.
Sounds like we need 2 weeks, not 2 days.
I don't think it's long enough. But be good.
Great.
Well, a lot of people I know, when the reason we put it in the Lake District is because that time of year, hopefully we'll have a little bit of snow on the hills, not just rain. And there are always pockets of nice woodland around the area. So it's only like 15 minutes, 20 minutes from Borrowdale, one of the most beautiful parts of the UK. So I imagine a lot of people are either coming early or staying after, and I'm certainly staying after, and you're running a workshop immediately after.
We are, yeah.
So we're looking forward to everybody to come to the conference, and if you can't make it, try and come to the live streaming conference, which is running alongside, and we'll be recording everything for posterity. So thank you very much. That concludes the talk about the conference.